Hi, and welcome to Uncle Scott's Kitchen. You know, I've done several videos recently on these carbon steel frying pans, but in my mind I'm always wondering, is that the best pan to use? Are these the best pans to fry in, or is maybe a cast iron or a ceramic nonstick or a stainless steel the best? And it may depend on the food that you're cooking. But today what I thought we might do is have a little pan battle skillet war, and we're going to see which pan performs the best. Now for today's battle, what I've chosen to do is fry some zucchini and yellow squash, kind of following that first rule of Southern cooking, which is if you can grow it, you can bread it and deep fry it. Okay, so I've chosen these 4 skillets. What we have here is a Bialetti ceramic nonstick, the Eternum model. This is my wife's pan. She's let me use it, so hopefully I don't mess it up. This thing costs about $45, $50. What we have here is a good old heavy Lodge 12-inch cast iron pan, about $25 online. This is my Matfer carbon steel, got it pretty well seasoned, $45, $50 online. And this here is an All-Clad D5 copper core stainless steel skillet. This thing is absurdly expensive, probably $250, $260. Which is absolutely ridiculous for a skillet, yet I paid it. So, now $250 is quite an absurd price to pay for a frying pan or skillet. But this is a very nice pan. Excellent reviews online. It's so expensive, my wife is afraid to use it, which is probably a good thing. The other thing I like about it, even though it's expensive, I know it is a very high quality, excellent pan. So if I'm cooking something and something goes wrong and I mess up a dish, I can kind of eliminate the pan as the problem. Okay, we're gonna fry a batch of zucchini and squash in each of these pans and see how they stack up. Okay, I'm gonna look at several factors with these pans. How quickly do they heat up? Do they cook evenly? How easy are they to clean up? And most importantly, how well do they do frying our zucchini and squash? Okay, now the first thing we're gonna do is clean our zucchini and squash. Now I read on the internet, and therefore it is true, that if you soak your fruits and veggies in some water with some baking soda dissolved in it, it's really effective in eliminating and washing away pesticides and residues. So that's what we're gonna do first. Now after 10 minutes, I'm gonna take them out and give them a good scrub and dry. Next, I'm going to slice them. I'm going with slices about 3/8 of an inch thick. Okay, now I've got all the zucchini and the squash sliced up and ready to go. Now it's time to mix up the batter and set up a little assembly line to get them battered and ready to fry. Okay, I've got quite a bit left over. Once again, my eyes are bigger than my stomach. But I think we've got enough to go ahead and get started with the test. Each pan is going to get 1 row of squash and 1 row of zucchini. Okay, we're going to get started cooking with the All-Clad stainless steel. I got the oil heated up, the pan heated up pretty quickly. As you can see, getting some nice browning as I turn the zucchini and squash. And it did a good job. I thought there was a little bit of a hot spot, but nothing I couldn't manage. And the zucchini turned out very, very good. Second rule of Southern cooking, if you can fry it, you can dip it in ranch dressing. Next up was the Lodge cast iron. A little bit slower to heat up, but nothing too crazy. It produced excellent crunch and browning, and my wife described these as yummy. And again, we immediately ate them all. Next up was the Bialetti ceramic nonstick. This one really surprised me with how well it did. I didn't expect it, but it performed very well. Browned the food, and it really was the most non-stick of the bunch, with quite a bit less oil. Again, my wife and I devoured the entire plate. And just a shout out to Bialetti. I really enjoy their little mocha pots. I buy one every time I go to Florence. And finally, the Matfer carbon steel. It wasn't the quickest to heat up and it wasn't the slowest. Kind of right in the middle. It did a great job. I have a really good seasoning on my pan and didn't get any crazy sticking. The food was browned very well, nice crunch, and once again, very delicious. We ate the entire batch immediately. And when it comes to cleanup, there was no major separation between the pans. They all cleaned up very, very easily. As a matter of fact, I didn't even have to use any dish soap. But I did put the cast iron and the carbon steel on a burner for about 30 seconds just to make sure I evaporated off any residual moisture. Okay, before we get to the final verdict and results, a couple of housekeeping items. I'd like to say a genuine thank you to everyone who has subscribed to the channel. If you haven't done so, but you enjoy the videos, I'd like to ask you to please subscribe if you get a chance. Also, we've got articles and reviews and recipes and blogs and other fun stuff on the website that don't appear here on the YouTube channel. So if you get a chance, check out unclescottskitchen.com. And finally, if you leave a question or comment below the video, I do my best to respond to each and every one of those, as long as it's nothing completely ridiculous. Okay, the final results for our first pan battle skillet war, zucchini skirmish. There were several surprising things to me. The thing that was most surprising is that if it appears that I'm doing something useful, my wife will let me make a huge mess in the kitchen and stand around and eat fried food all day. So I'm going to call that a win. Now the next most surprising thing to me was that there was no clear-cut winner in food quality amongst these pans. Going into the test, I kind of thought that either the cast iron or the carbon steel would produce superior frying and browning results. But that was just not the case. In fact, each of these pans produced very similar, very tasty, lightly browned, crunchy, delicious food. All practically equal. So in the most important category, how do they cook? They all produce very, very good results. So I wouldn't pick a winner there. Now when it comes to value, this Lodge cast iron has to be easily the best value of the bunch. For $25, it produced the exact same delicious fried foods as the All-Clad stainless steel that literally cost 10 times as much, $250 versus $25. So the cast iron is a tremendous value. The other two pans are kind of somewhere in the middle. Now, even though the pans produce very similar frying results, there are differences and nuances. And whether they're important or not is really a matter of personal taste. For example, the handles. The handles on these two are quite long. And if you got a lot going on in your stove, they can kind of get in the way. The handle on the cast iron is very short. But after about 5 minutes of cooking, this handle was too hot to touch with the bare hand. On the carbon steel, the handle became too hot to touch after about 10 minutes. On these two pans, they stayed cool to the touch throughout the entire cooking process. Also, the pans have nuances, and you kind of got to learn the way each of them cooks. For example, the ceramic Nonstick, it's a much lighter metal than the other pans. And because of that, when I would adjust the flame underneath, it was very, very responsive to changes in temperature. Now this can be a good thing or a bad thing, but I kind of felt like if I turned the heat up just a little bit, maybe the pan might overshoot very quickly and I'd have to turn it back down. It almost seemed like I had to monitor it much more precisely than the other pans. Whereas with the cast iron, it's much heavier and thicker. If I adjusted the temperature a little bit, it kind of was a little fuzzier. It didn't go right to the new temperature. And I kind of felt like that gave me a gray area where I didn't have to watch it like a hawk, and that was a good thing. Now when it comes to cleanup, each of the pans was very easy to clean, and there's no big deal with any of them when it comes to that. They all wiped out with paper towels. I didn't use any dishwashing liquid, and maybe just a light hit with the scrubby, but less than 1 minute per pan, and no big deal cleaning any of them. Now the carbon steel and the cast iron have to be seasoned. And a lot of people obsess over this seasoning, and they do a lot of prep work and season over and over and over, just to get ready to cook. You don't really need to do that. All you gotta do is season them correctly one time and then cook like this, because what could be better for your seasoning than frying in hot oil for 25 or 30 minutes? That's all you gotta do. It's the best thing in the world for your seasoning. And the final thing that surprised me was that I did hit the wall on fried food. After about my 5th plate of fried zucchini and squash, I was absolutely tired of it, and I don't want to see another one again for quite a while. Okay, so while this first fight in the skillet wars and pan battles didn't produce a clear-cut winner, I think it's safe to say more fights lie ahead. Or is it lay ahead? I'm not quite sure. Anyway, next time we're going to cook some animals. We're going to cook some burgers, steaks, maybe some fish, maybe some fatty breakfast meats. Until then, thank you very much for watching Uncle Scott's Kitchen. Bye.